I remember the first time that I ever told a joke publicly. I was a freshman in high school, and my math teacher said, Adam, read the next definition in the book. And I said, circumference, the distance around something. Circumference, not to be confused with circumcision. It's a pity laugh. It's not a great joke, but to a bunch of 15-year-olds, comedian of the year. There was this really hot girl sitting next to me, and she leaned over, and she's like, you're pretty funny, Bush. I lived off that emotionally for a year. I was talking about this joke to my wife, Diana, the other day, and she goes, a year? Because you're 39, and you're still talking about it. To kind of tell you how I got into comedy, I have to share a story with you, and there's some funny parts of the story. It's not a specifically funny story, but it's important to share because it'll kind of set up the whole and give you context for what we're doing here. 15 years ago, I started listening to this comedian named Mike Birbiglia. I heard him on my favorite radio show, This American Life, which is hosted by my favorite storyteller, Ira Glass. The thing about Mike, up until this point, I'd only heard comedians tell set up punchline jokes, but he told stories and just found the humor in them. Fast forward to 2017, and he's got a one-man show happening on Broadway. It's called The New One. And he says, I'm holding a contest called Birbig's Understudy. It's based on the idea, it's a one-man show. He can't have an understudy. That wouldn't make any sense. It's now, coming out and doing Mike Birbiglia's The New One, not Mike Birbiglia. This is not going to work. So he says, make a video of yourself doing one of my old bits, post it online. I'm going to pick my favorite one. You're going to come out and open for me in New York on Broadway. I thought, I think I could do this. So I made a video and I posted it online. I entered the contest. Later that week, I was talking with a friend who I really respect, and she said, what is this contest that you're talking about? And so I showed her the video and I explained the idea of the contest, and she looked at me and she goes, that's a weird idea for a contest. And then she just walked away. It wasn't a criticism, but it was not a compliment. It's like when somebody looks at you and says, hey, you got a haircut, and then that's it. That's a weird idea for a contest. That's what she said. But what I heard was, you couldn't actually do this. So the deadline for the contest came, and it went, and that was that. People would ask me, did you ever hear from the contest? I'm like, no, but it was fun to enter, which was kind of a lie because I felt kind of silly. About a week later, I'm at work, and my phone vibrates with an Instagram notification, and it says, @New1BWay is now following you on Instagram. That was Mike's show. And I said out loud to my friend, that's weird. Mike Birbiglia's show is following me on Instagram. They probably follow everyone who entered the contest. But then I got another notification. And this time it was a direct message from the show. And it said, hey, Adam, guess what? Question mark. And then those 3 little dots popped up for what felt like a freaking eternity. Until finally it read, you won. That's how I felt. Honestly, I lost my ever-loving mind. I was running and screaming and jumping at work as loud as I could. The people on the floor below us came up. They're like, what's going on? Is somebody hurt? And they're like, no, Adam's going to perform on Broadway. And they're like, that's different than what we thought. About 5 days later, my wife and I are standing in the Court Theater just off Times Square. We're talking to the producers about the night, how it will go, and the door behind me opens up, and in walks Ira Glass. Ira Glass is my favorite interviewer, writer, storyteller of all time. Sir, what do you do for a job? I'm a teacher. So you get it, it's like if you saw your favorite teacher. He gets it. Ira Glass is going to introduce me for the night. So we're in the auditorium, and he's on stage just running through what he's going to say, and I'm thinking to myself, if I get any time with Ira Glass, I'm just going to ask him, why did you pick me? And right then, Ira Glass looks at me and he goes, Adam, this is the part of the introduction where I'm going to say why we picked you. And I thought, holy crap, I think Ira Glass can read my mind. He said, the reason that we chose you is because when we saw your video, we thought, oh, this guy could actually do this. And I thought to myself, I wonder if Ira Glass knows I just pooped my pants. My biggest fear of the night was that the crowd would not be on my side. Like they've traveled from all over the world to go to a Broadway show to see their favorite comedian. But first, here's a kid from Tulsa, Oklahoma, whose only experience doing stand-up up to this point is one time he did a sketch at a kids' camp with a puppet. It's true. It's true. Right then, Mike Birbiglia walked up to me and he said, hey man, you can't mess this up. Because whatever you do, that's the show. And it's going to be great. And I thought, that is not how performing works, Mike Birbiglia. I'm not going to go out there and bomb and they're like, well, that was terrible, but that's the show. But I went out there and I did it, and he was right. Afterwards, to get back to my dressing room, I had to actually leave the theater and go to the stage door, and there were a mob of people out there waiting for Mike to come out, and they had told me when you get to the bouncer, just tell him your name. And so I walked up to him kind of nervously. I was like, I'm HeyAdamBush, like with a question mark at the end. He rapped on the side, and the double doors opened up like I was freaking Moses parting the Red Sea. And afterwards, Mike and I, we talked, we took a picture together, I've got it in my office, and it reminds me of like two big lessons that I've learned from that experience. The first is, we all have opinions, and it's easy for all of us to be critical, but man, is encouragement powerful. The second thing that I learned was if my first experience doing stand-up is being introduced by Ira Glass to open up for Mike Birbiglia to a packed house on Broadway, if that's my first experience doing stand-up, then I think professionally, my career is going backwards.